Yep.
Nothing, but that's fine. Just, yeah.
Oh, it says it's recording. How strange.
Oh, yeah, no, got it now.
Okay, cool. Good. Yeah. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm doing another beautiful chat with a past trainee from Soul Activation Training. So I'm here today with Suzanne. Suzanne's an energy healer and a coach, and I've loved her work for a really, really long time. I don't know if I think I've reflected that back to you before, how much I love your work, and when we shared time together in the trainings, about how beautiful your offerings and your medicine is, and how much I just, grateful for your light and grateful for your presence and for continuing to do the work. Like, it's really a beautiful thing to see.
Thank you.
I'm not going to cry. I'll start crying. So Suzanne was in I call that my first ever round of soul activation training, my firstborns. So she's one of my firstborns, and really helped me flourish and really helped me reclaim my gifts and really walked that path and trusted me, which I'm just so humbly grateful for, to walk that path and let that be born through and with you. It's just a time in my life that I treasure really, really dearly. So thank you for that.
It was so beautiful. And the women that we were, the bunch of women that were drawn together, it was so special. And yeah, like you said, it was a really special time in my life.
Yeah. I've got goosies. I'm just joking. It's funny how life goes on and then you touch on things. Oh my God, it just, it was really, really beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your experience with everyone today. Thank you for sharing of yourself today. I really look forward to hearing you share. It's interesting having these conversations, because you can kind of think, oh yeah, that went for them, but hearing it in these ways is quite different. I really would love to know, if it's okay, how you even came to be part of the training. Like, what was going on, if you can remember, what was going on for you in your life?
It's so funny. And I think I remember saying to you at the time, I just follow my ping. So I got a ping. I've been following you for a while. I wasn't even really sure why I was following you. I loved the things you were sharing, but I didn't really understand what a big impact that was going to have, or that I would ever work with you one-on-one in any way. And then one day you posted about the soul activation training, and I was like, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I didn't know why I was doing it. I just had to do it. And that's kind of been a theme with any training I've taken on ever since. It's like, as soon as I get that hit in the chest, I just have to do it. So,
that makes sense. I think everyone that joined that training, they didn't even know what they were signing up for. They just
I had no idea.
I think even in it, you were like, correct me if I'm wrong, I can remember everyone saying, this is not what I expected. Like, what is this? But it was perfect as well in that.
It was beautiful. And it definitely, if there's one thing I can say about anything that you offer, it over delivered on what our expectations were. Just everything you offer always over delivers. So it was literally life-changing.
It was. And there was only the next one I'm offering is 3 months. So that was like, I remember thinking, it's quite mad actually, thinking of how much we did in 6 weeks. Like, it felt much, I don't know about you, but it felt so much longer to me than 6 weeks, and not all at the same time.
It felt like a whole season of my life. It was like I went in one person and I popped out the other side a different person. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I don't think we can do much longer.
We were really
through so much transformation that I was like, I don't know how many more weeks I can do of this. But then every week I'd show up and it just had these massive shifts. It felt much longer.
And that was the thing that I really noticed in you and everyone in that particular group, actually, was that this, for lack of a better word, wild abandon, like this real trust in the process. And it was this thing of, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going and I'm doing it. It's this witnessing of trusting of yourselves that I just, is really important in my work, is that reestablishing or helping you get to that place. Did that happen for you though, that trusting?
Oh my gosh. I think that's what the entire course was. Like, I don't even know if I could explain to someone what it was that we did, except that week after week we showed up for ourselves, or not just week after week, like lesson after lesson, day after day. We were showing up for ourselves and making ourselves hugely uncomfortable. And questioning everything we thought we were. It was like, but what was so great for us is that because you were doing it for the first time too, it was like we were all experiencing it together for the first time. We didn't really know what the next week was going to look like, however we were taken.
Yes.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah. And really, really challenging. I think more work than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
More investment of my time, more investment of my energy, more investment of my trust, more investment of myself than I thought it was going to be. But if you just keep showing up, you get through it, and on the other side, you're just a completely different person.
Yeah, I think that's such a great, a great share, because it's something that requires commitment. So working with me, however you're going to work with me, showing up half-assed isn't going to work, because I show up wholly. I don't know if you felt that, but I'm all in. I'm there for everyone individually and as a group, and like I'm just as invested in your journey as you are. I really, really am, and I hold that so near and dear to my heart in that process and doing this work. So commitment is if you're not committed,
top of the list. I mean, if you don't have that, you're not going to make it through the first couple of weeks. You have to make this space for it in your life. I remember actually stopping taking bookings for like once we were a week or two in, I was like, I'm not working with clients for the next few weeks because I can't. Like I just had to be, if I wanted to get out what I wanted to get out, I had to give it all my commitment. So it was incredible.
And I think I say that to everyone that signs up is, please tell everyone that you're in a relationship with or that you're working with, that this is your time. You'll meet them on the other side. Less is more, and prioritize this, because it's really only, look, for your particular run, it was 6 weeks. The next ones I've learned since then. Like I said, that was my first one, and I was really learning on the fly then. And so it's more measured out and paced in that sense, which is great. And there's a lot more space in it, but it still requires commitment. So that part has not changed. And the depth of the work and the reclamation of self and that innate trust of self is definitely still in there.
No, it was amazing. It was truly amazing.
So since you had that experience, what do you think you could, this is going to be a hard thing, I don't know, we'll see. What do you think, out of doing that or having that time and having that experience, how did it impact your life after, in your personal life, your professional life, your relationship with yourself? That a holistic picture in that way.
Let me just think about that. I think the depth at which I knew myself afterwards, and that's continued to grow, because now I understand how to do the work in its entirety more. I think sometimes you just have to be guided through that, especially if you want that real expansive growth in a shorter period of time. You can pick up self-help books or whatever and do whatever you can on your own, but really to have a mentor and a guide to go through that process. It doesn't just help you at the time, but it helps you understand now, when I'm going through certain challenges because of the training we did, I know I'm going to pop out the other side. I know what integration looks like. I know what it looks like to bawl your eyes out over something and know you're going to come out the other side. So I think it was that understanding of the process of growth and expansion that was really beautiful. Understanding what I was capable of definitely continued after the course that we did, because I never would have pushed myself to where you took us. I never would have. I would have stopped a long time before, where you were like, come on, keep going, you've got this. And I remember saying to you at one point, I was like, oh, I think that has to be my last big breakthrough. And you were like, we've got 2 weeks left.
But with love, not being cruel.
No, you just knew what we were capable of more than we knew what we were capable of. And knowing that now, that has transformed the way I go into any course, any work, the way I look at myself in my own business. I'm not complacent in my business anymore. Like, when I'm ready to up level something, I set everything aside for a few weeks and I just go all in. So it was that, I think it was that understanding of, look, this is how far you can go and this is what you're capable of. And that has carried over in every area of my life ever since.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that so much. I love, oh God, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to reflect upon, if it's okay, around the fact there was a lot of energy work and talking about energy and how to work with energy and refining your skills and doing all those kind of things, not because your skills or anyone else's were defunct, not at all, but just diving in or looking at it from a different perspective and engaging with it in that way. Also, the aspect of really diving into the human self and the emotions and the stories and the levels of self in that way, which, you know, I really work from the holistic self in that way. How do you remember that? Do you remember doing that work in that way, as far as diving into the self and into
I remember. So
yeah.
probably one of the biggest things, and I don't know if this answers your question, but working with the other people in the course.
Yes.
That really pushed me and that really stretched me, and that made me a much better practitioner, because we were doing things that we weren't, you know, in my work as a practitioner, I wasn't doing the things that you were getting us to try and do. And you were very open about the fact that you may never do this again after your course, but I want you to try this. I want you to feel this. And, you know, particularly through different meditations that you talked us through and stuff, I was like, oh my God, I can do this. And so it was really interesting. And there are some things that I've never used again, and some things that I use still every single day. So yeah, it was beautiful, because had I not been given the opportunity to try those different things, or particularly working with other practitioners, there were times where I was really triggered with that, because I was like, but this isn't what I do. But it's beautiful now, because when I'm with a client now in my business who is really trusting, I can say, let's just try some stuff out. Like, let's see where we're guided to go. And I don't know if I would have done that otherwise. Maybe I would have been led there in a different way, but it definitely gave me more confidence in myself, just to trust where I'm being called to go, rather than, no, this is what I do, this is the work I do, this is the way I do it. Now I'm like, well, who knows? I'm being called to go in this direction, so let's play with it and see where we go. It's really, and it never fails to be the best choice, you know, when you're being guided in a different direction that you don't know, but it's really coming from that deep intuition place. It's always the best thing to do with a client that's trusting of you.
I can feel that.
I
was just having a conversation with my current training that I'm doing just a moment ago, and it really complemented that. Or it might feel a bit different, but it feels the same to me all at the same time, around the fact something happened. It was synchronistic, and I was getting super excited about it. And I was saying how this work, if you're getting bored with this work, you're missing something, or it's not your path. Because to me, this line of work, energetic work, understanding of self, it's constantly evolving, and there's constant discoveries. It never gets boring. It constantly is just like, and it has that. And I'd love your experience in this. For me, it has those moments. Sure, it has the doldrums of the kind of 3D stuff of navigating business, but it also has those moments of absolute wonder and things that just blow your mind all of the time. And you're like, like seeing it in your clients and then seeing it in yourself and having that reciprocal relationship. Have you found?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's just, and your work was about trusting ourselves and about understanding ourselves on a deeper level, and that never stops. So we're always experiencing new parts of ourselves or new layers of ourselves, which was definitely what I was introduced through soul activation. But with our clients, we get to experience newness all the time. And any time where I'm sat still too long in my business, I'm like, okay, what's new? Because we're evolving beings and we get to evolve really quickly. So I think just leaning into that and just getting excited about what you're doing. And if I'm not excited about what I'm doing, I'm like, okay, what do I need to learn now?
Because it's not to be high all the time too. I just want to reiterate that.
No.
It's this exploration. We're here to explore and to learn and to remember and to receive the activations of self and share that experience with each other. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah, I think it's that word remember, and you use that a lot through the activation course. It's not actually about discovering new parts of yourself, it's about remembering all the parts of yourself. And that's why I think it moves so quickly, because when you're really invested in this work and you learn that new part of yourself, or you remember that new part of yourself, you kind of rip back a layer, and then not too long after that, this next layer is like, oh, hey, hi, do you remember?
I
So it's just, that's what it is. It's not about being silly about it and just like, oh, I never want to sit still. It's just about being excited to remember all those parts of yourself that you've forgotten, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And then you're kind of like, I can do what? you
know,
like,
totally.
Oh, I could do that. And it's like, what? That's been there the whole time. And it's like, yeah. And you're like, oh, and that in itself is that real self-acceptance, like not this kind of, I love myself, but I know myself. I accept myself. It's visceral. It's not just.
Yeah. It's like, wow, I'm amazing.
Really.
And it's almost like when you're doing inner child work, and I think about my inner child looking at me now going, oh, we're amazing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's it encapsulated. Totally. To me, I was just having this conversation as well. So funny. Synchronicities. That I didn't become someone. I actually returned to who I originally was.
Yeah, absolutely.
My child, and loved her and listened and felt her. Has that been your experience?
And that's really been reflected in my parenting too. Like especially my youngest, she's such a bright light, and rather than kind of dismissing her imagination or her little quirks, I lean in and I'm like, tell me more, because that helps me remember as well. But just being able to nurture that in her has done so much. Even to go all the way through it with my relationship with my mother, like understanding that I have gifts that she wasn't able to explore, and now I get to help my children with that. So it just kind of flows into every facet of your world. It's beautiful.
I love that. I can see it go all the way down the line of those before and those to come, and the whole it's really deep bloodline work, ancestral work there. It just feels really yum. Yeah. You've just encapsulated it all so well. It's really it's just been such
like I mean, how could you ever, when you're talking to new trainees, how could you ever explain all of this? And for other people it will be different. This was my experience, and this is where it's taken me and is continuing to take me. But how could I have, in the first week going into soul activation, known that this all of this stuff that we're talking about now was going to happen? There's just no way. You just have to keep showing up, and you have to keep showing up for yourself and showing up for the other members of the group, and just saying, I'm really going to do my best today, whatever that looks like. Because there were days where I was lying on my sofa in our calls with a blanket over my head. But
you showed up. You showed up. That was the thing. You were still there, and that's all that you needed to do.
So I think that's what I would express to people is like, you're never going to be disappointed if you show up. This work will over deliver, and what you'll learn about yourself, even if you don't realize it in the months that follow, in years' time, you'll look back and go, oh my God, that's who I was when I stepped into that work. And like I said to you before this call, I feel like that or even while I was in that felt like my teenage years. Only a couple of years ago, but it feels like I've grown so much. It's crazy.
And that's the thing. I'm talking about integration, like you did and a few others did, actually said, there's still stuff coming up. I'm like, it's like the gift that keeps giving, because it's itself. She's going to keep showing you and showing you. And I love just that. The initial even trust to sign up is that beginning of trust, of really instilling that deeper trust in self. So it's like begins way before you're even in the space, because there's a conscious choice, even if you're actually not conscious of what you're signing up for. And just to be clear, it's not like you're going to go in there and go, what is this? It's really quite practical.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's why I kept showing up. Like, I know I'm talking a lot about the challenges of it, and I had to keep showing up, but there were points dotted through there that felt like that. But for the most part, it was connection with the other women. It was connection with you. It was all of us growing together. It was, oh my God, learning how to hold space for people was huge for me, in not having to talk over people or over explain what I felt they were going through, just to be able to learn how to hold space for people by not saying anything.
Beautiful.
And there were times where one of us was going through something, and you'd just get us to do this heart expanded meditation where we'd all send love, and that's still something I do. So yeah, there was so big periods of just beautiful connection and yumminess.
Yeah.
And then but then it was dotted through with these like, oh shit, this is hard. Like, I'm having to look at parts of myself that I didn't even know existed, and at times I was a bit ashamed of, to be honest, and like loving those parts of myself and then moving on to the next thing. So yeah, it was just beautiful.
Yeah. I love, see, it's really deep sister work too, sister wound work, which is one of my biggest wounds for sure. I'm still a work in progress with that, which might sound ironic because I hold trainings for women and I hold groups for women, but it's really been on a really basic level, quite from a selfish place at times too, not from a self-centered place, but I really want to heal that wound and work through that wound and get a deeper understanding of that. And by doing this work with you and everyone else who signed up, I received that gift. It's that beautiful even give and take. It's a reciprocal relationship, which is just priceless, to be honest.
Well, I think that's why we do any work we do as practitioners, is you're going into it because that part of you needs healing, and as you're walking that part of your journey, you're bringing other people along with you. And that's why it's so beautiful, because we're doing it together. I don't think there's one thing that I do in the work, when I'm working with anyone, that doesn't help me at the same time. And that isn't selfish. It's that that's why it works. Because we're not standing above someone saying, hey, I know how to do this and you don't. No, it's like, let's do this together.
Yeah, which is just, I don't know if it's a new way, but it's definitely the way that I know you and I are very aligned like that. It's definitely, it's the way we're meeting as minds, heart and soul in that time and place, and we're doing it together as a collaboration at that time. And it's just empowers everyone involved.
I think it's just the frequency that we're meeting at. Like, when I'm choosing a practitioner, I'm very careful, to be honest, about who I work with. And I just wouldn't choose someone that wasn't carrying that love frequency of like, hey, let's do this together. So yeah, it's really beautiful.
Very valid point. Yeah, I'm very discerning with who I work with, not from a place of better than, just it's
is this going to work for me?
Pretty much. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing today. That's
welcome. Yeah, Claire. It really has been life-changing. And like we've already said, it just continues. I mean, I can't even remember, it was a couple of years ago, I think, but it's just,
I can't remember the year. Well, it was well and truly before COVID, so I think it might have been 2019.
Oh geez. Okay, so a few years ago.
Yeah, it's a while ago. So I feel like I'm walking down memory lane with you right now. We've got our hands out and we're like, because it was just such a special, sacred time that it was just still nourishes me to this day.
Yeah, me too, definitely.
I can feel you all as I offer this training again. And I think I said this to you, each training that I've offered since, all the women before, I could feel them energetically coming and holding the women of the next trainings. It makes me really emotional. So it's that, that work and that energy and that connection continues on in whatever way it's meant to. My firstborns are definitely in that group.
Yeah, our energy is still in there for sure.
Yeah. So thank you.
Just
we're really grateful.
Thanks, Claire.